My cash cow. Uniform, my ass out. Gotta appreciate a woman that can help her man branch out.
What's good, family? It's your boy Lou, back with some more content. Yes, sir.
On June 30th, 2021, the police department received a call to go and check a house in Houston, Texas. When they arrived, they saw a gruesome view. A family of 6 lived in the house, and 3 of them were no more. Apart from the 1-year-old son, all the other members were wounded, and 3 of them had already passed away. The attack survivor was a 10-year-old girl. But what had happened? Why was the family lying dead in their apartment? The mother of the girl was 29-year-old Xavier Lagway. She and her husband, Gregory Carhe, had an on-and-off relationship. They lived in Houston with their 4 children. They had 4 children, 10-year-old Lyric, a 9-year-old boy, 6-year-old Harmony, and another 1-year-old boy. Lagway and Carhe had a tumultuous relationship from the beginning. They would often get along and fight the other times. During those breaks, they would often see other people for escape, and this is where all the problems began.
In today's episode of Lou's Crazy Crimes, we're going to be talking about a courageous young lady who had to witness her house being robbed, her family being unalived, having to play dead until the robber leave to be able to help her infant sibling, and call for help.
On June 30th, 2021, the police department received a call to go and check a house in Houston, Texas. When they arrived, they saw a gruesome view. A family of 6 lived in the house, and 3 of them were no more. Apart from the 1-year-old son, all the other members were wounded, and 3 of them had already passed away. The attack survivor was a 10-year-old girl. But what had happened? Why was the family lying dead in their apartment? The mother of the girl was 29-year-old Xavier Lagway. She and her husband, Gregory Carhe, had an on-and-off relationship. They lived in Houston with their 4 children. They had 4 children, 10-year-old Lyric, a 9-year-old boy, 6-year-old Harmony, and another 1-year-old boy. Lagway and Carhe had a tumultuous relationship from the beginning. They would often get along and fight the other times. During those breaks, they would often see other people for escape, and this is where all the problems began. On June 30th, 2021, Lagway and Carhe were in their apartment in the 12R100 block of Fondren. They had 3 of their children with them, and the 9-year-old boy was away. Everything seemed to be normal at their home. They were chilling in the evening and watching TV, not knowing that a storm was coming to claim their lives. At around 10:30 p.m., the whole family was awake and heard a knock on their door. Lagway or Carhe didn't have anyone coming over, so they knew something was not right. No one visited them this late. Carhe was holding their 1-year-old baby in his arms, and he went to open the door. He saw a man standing there, and his stance told him that he didn't have good intentions towards them. The man had a gun in his hands, and he was pointing it at Carhe. The intruder pushed past him and walked into the family room. Panic spread as he asked every member to come in front of him. Then he asked everyone to line up on the couch. They did as he told them. They were perhaps hoping that this was a case of robbery and it would be over soon. But they were wrong. The intruder mercilessly fired at their heads one by one. The 1-year-old boy was still unharmed at this point. He grabbed the little boy by his hair and threw him across the room. He didn't check if the baby was alive. He then rummaged through the entire house and turned it upside down. He took whatever he could find and quickly exited the crime scene. But he didn't know that one of his victims was still alive. 10-year-old Lyric had a bullet wound in her arm which didn't take her life, but she was smart, and she lay in her place and acted dead. She knew that was the only way to get out of that situation alive and possibly help her family.
During the shooting, the Carhe's 10-year-old daughter watched while her family was killed.
She didn't move until the intruder left their apartment. After he was gone, she got up, and the first thing she did was lock the front door. Then she rushed to her baby brother to check if he was okay.
This incredible young lady was able to get up, despite being gravely wounded, care for her 1-year-old baby brother who was still in the apartment.
She knew that something horrible had happened to the rest of her family. She called her grandmother and told her, "Granny, someone came in and shot me, my mama and my dad and sister, and they're dead." She was in the house about 15 minutes with the bodies until we got here, said Angela Irvin, a family member.
Granny, my mom got shot, my dad got shot. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what happened?
She waited until he left and pretended that she was dead. And then when he left, she locked the door, grabbed her little brother, called her grandmother.
She also managed to show her grandmother everything that happened. Her grandmother was shocked. She informed her other daughter about the incident. They called 911. Help arrived immediately. Police were shocked to see the gruesome scene before them, especially the 6-year-old child's lifeless body. Police started to investigate the case, and that's when the disturbing details began to emerge. However, they had a rough start as they didn't have any identification or suspect description to help them. They also didn't know the motive. As there were no signs of forced entry, they deduced that the attacker was someone Karhi or Langway already knew. Although the house had been turned upside down, nothing was damaged. Police don't think the killer, believed to be in his 20s, forced his way in. The girl said he was wearing a medical mask. They then moved to collect the surveillance footage. They checked all the cameras in the area and placed a $5,000 reward for anyone who could give them information on the incident. At this point, everyone wanted to find the intruder and put him in jail. However, the journey to finding the truth was not going to be easy for the police because they didn't have any evidence. But only a day later, they found a lead which gave them hope for this case. On July 1st, 2021, the police arrested a man as the prime suspect in the case. His name was Xavier Dominique Davis, but police were struggling to find his motive for the triple homicide because he didn't have any relation with the Karhi family. However, his criminal record was very long, which initially prompted the police to believe that he just wanted to rob the Karhi residence. In 2014, he was convicted of felony aggravated robbery. He was in prison for some time before the incident for armed robbery, and had just been released. His records also showed that on June 7, 2021, Davis pulled out a gun on his girlfriend and threatened to take her life. And the reason? He suspected that she was cheating on him, and so he confronted her without any concrete proof. The terrified girl went to the police and complained about Davis. Police were already looking for him when the incident took place, and they didn't take long to arrest him. He was arrested and charged with aggravated assault of a family member for threatening his girlfriend. And on July 2nd, when the police finally established his links to the triple homicide, they slapped the charges of 3 counts of capital murder and aggravated assault with a weapon. But how did the police know that it was him? Reportedly, the announcement of the reward worked because they received an anonymous tip telling them that Davis was the one behind the tragic and Karhi family had met. The police went to check Davis's house immediately. They found a gun tucked there that had matching bullets that were found at the crime scene. And now, the police had another question hanging before them. Why did Davis do this? Why did he attack a family he didn't have any ties with? As they continued the investigation, they understood that Davis didn't just choose a random house to rob that day, but the whole incident was premeditated, and the mastermind was someone else. On July 10, 2021, family and friends held a funeral for the deceased members of the Karhi family. Many of their close ones came to attend it, and they remembered them with teary eyes. One of the many attendees was Alexis Chanel Williams.
Apparently, went down that the defendant attended the funeral service of these victims that she helped to kill.
But who was she? Apparently, during one of her breaks with Karhi, Lagway became involved with Williams and had an affair for several months. As their relationship turned toxic, Lagway decided to end it around June 23rd and go back to her husband. But Williams couldn't stand the idea of being dumped. So, as revenge, she began plotting how to get rid of her. She contacted her childhood friend, who happened to be none other than Xavier Davis. When he heard that his beloved friend needed help to get rid of her ex-girlfriend, he agreed to do it instantly.
She was not allegedly the gunman, although she coordinated the entire event, it appears.
According to their plan, Davis would rob the family and could keep anything he could steal from the house. He was also told that he would find several $1,000s in a certain spot at the Carhee residence. But he would also have to take the lives of all members of the family.
Williams conspired with suspected hitman Xavier Davis, promising him several $1,000s in the family's apartment for the murders.
Shockingly, even after knowing that he would have to take innocent lives, Davis decided to help Williams. They picked June 30th to be the day and prepared accordingly. At around 9 p.m., he carjacked a man at gunpoint and stole his Jeep from a few miles away from the Carhee apartment. He then went to Williams' house and stayed there for an hour. After that, he drove the stolen Jeep to the apartment complex where the Carhee family lived. He had his gun on him. He put a mask on before walking out of his vehicle. He reached the entrance and knocked on the door. Carhee opened it, and then he attacked them and took their lives one after another.
Probable cause read in the courtroom today regarding Williams states that a man knocked on the family's apartment, and when the father answered the door, a man demanded money and then proceeded to shoot and kill Gregory Carhee, Danyavia Lagwe, and the couple's 6-year-old daughter.
And the most shocking part of the incident? Williams had asked to see how he would do it. So to keep her request, Davis made a video call to her.
Prosecutors say she may have watched the entire thing happen on a FaceTime call.
However, it was unclear whether she saw Davis take their lives or if she called after the deed was done. It was also unclear whether Williams had a chat with any of the family members before Davis attacked them.
When Xavier Davis was inside that apartment, he was on FaceTime with Alexis Williams. That means that she watched either the executions or the immediate aftermath.
He said it's possible Williams even spoke to the victims before they were gunned down. They also said, makes it even more disturbing to think that she didn't want to be there in person, but she certainly wanted to see the actual commission of the offense and the aftermath, Terry said. After finding the cache exactly where Williams had mentioned it would be, Davis exited the apartment complex quickly. He took the Jeep to a remote location and set it on fire to remove all evidence. It took the police almost 8 months of investigation to finally crack the case and find the missing link between the Carhee family and Davis, and that was Williams. Investigators said from the beginning that they believed a second suspect was involved, and they suspected it was Williams after learning about the affair.
Prosecutors say detectives were able to piece together the plot once they were able to crack the passcode to Williams' cell phone.
The two culprits had exchanged several messages related to this hit job. That was all the evidence the police needed to issue an arrest warrant for Williams.
She's charged with 3 counts of capital murder, accused of setting up a plot that left a mother, a father, and a child dead.
They arrived before the judge a couple of times. Their presence was extremely calm as they heard their charges. Prosecutors pointed out the danger Williams carried and why she must be locked away immediately.
If that's the consequence of dating this defendant, nobody in Harris County is safe.
Williams spoke only once during her hearing as the judge updated her on her bail status.
You have no bond in any of the 3 capital murders.
But she might have one in the future. We may eventually agree to a bond well in the future, but as it stands right now, she is held at no bond for all 3 capital murders and for the aggravated of the young girl, Terry said. Davis was initially allowed a bond for $1 million. When the news came out, authorities faced a lot of backlash. Davis had cold-bloodedly taken the life of an innocent child, and the locals didn't want him roaming the streets looking for his next victim. Lagwe and Carhee's relatives had the same response.
Couldn't believe they would give a bond to someone who murdered 3 people and a 6-year-old.
Another relative said that bond was the last thing he needed.
A bond? Seriously? You give a person that committed a triple homicide a bond? He don't need a bond. He killed 3 people. And one of them was a 6-year-old child. 6 years old. He had no mercy for a 6-year-old.
She claimed that despite all his rights, the bond should be revoked.
I know everybody have rights. Animals have rights. And he's an animal, but the bond needs to be rejected.
Although a newspaper article released later that week claimed that the bond had been revoked, the judge had in fact kept it intact. However, Davis would have to maintain a few protocols to be able to obtain it. He would have to be on a 24-hour house arrest and would have to wear a GPS tracking device that could constantly inform the authorities of his whereabouts and would alert them if he did something unlawful once again. And if Davis ended up taking the bond, he wasn't allowed within 200 feet of the apartment complex where he'd committed the crime. Harris County prosecutor Sean Thierry praised the bravery of the little girl, but they were worried that this incident would leave a deep impact on her tender psyche. He said, 3 people are dead, and that little girl and her other 2 living siblings are orphans.
Not just 3 people, both of her parents and her little sister were executed, and she had to watch it. And not only did she have to watch it, she had to experience it while being herself.
He pointed out how most adults lose their wits in such incidents, but this brave little girl knew exactly what to do to get out of the danger and also keep her baby brother alive.
The bravery and the heroism that she showed that day in her wherewithal to not move, in her wherewithal to just let him, Xavier Davis, get out of the apartment before she began to check on her brother, to check on her little sister, to check on her parents, is amazing.
When it came to charges, Xavier Davis received a fate similar to his best friend.
Now, the 28-year-old Xavier Davis was also arrested as the accused gunman. Now, he's facing identical charges.
The motive was identified as revenge and greed for Williams and Davis, respectively. What we've been able to gather is that Alexis Williams promised him that there were several $1,000s in that apartment, Thierry said. She told him that whatever he was able to get was his. It was simply greed for Xavier Davis. Williams was able to direct Davis to the exact location of the money because she'd been to this apartment countless times. Authorities said, "We believe that ended poorly about a week prior to these murders," he said. "We know that Alexis Williams spent numerous nights and times over there at that apartment prior to a week before." Williams and Davis are awaiting their fate as of 2024. The family of the deceased went into a deep shock after losing so many members in the horrific incident. Lagway's mother, Mando, was devastated to lose her child, but she was proud of her granddaughter for her wit and bravery.
I just want everybody to know, my baby, she's a hero. My baby is a hero.
She also expressed absolute disgust for the attacker.
That's a monster. You don't do that.
She decided to take in Lagway's babies and raise them with her other relatives. Although they found a home with their grandmother, they would grow up without their parents. On top of that, Lyric Karhi would have a lifelong trauma of seeing her parents die with her eyes and also surviving the horrible attack. Sean Thierry of the Harris County District Attorney's Office said, "Can you imagine the trauma she is going to have to experience for the rest of her life, simply because 2 people wanted money and revenge?" he asked. Another tragic piece of information unfolded when the Lagway family spoke to the press. Family members said Donyavia had just learned she was pregnant with her 5th child. And to take the life of a woman in that state is absolutely monstrous and requires severe punishment. Lyric's other aunt was also proud of her bravery.
It's devastating. My little niece but she's brave. She's very brave.
Lagway's cousin Ronette said she couldn't believe her cousin had passed when she first heard it. "Why? That's what I don't understand," Ronette said. "When I got the phone call, I was just in disbelief. And then she told me that they had both passed, and I was saying that couldn't be true." Another relative recalled the day of the incident and how they tackled the tragedy the moment they heard about it.
After the phone call, we immediately came to be comfort to each other.
And they didn't forget to send a grim message to Davis and Williams.
For the folks who did this, y'all will get y'all justice.
10-year-old Lyric was returned to her grandmother after medical treatment. The girl, now 11, is being cared for by her 2 grandmothers and has undergone several surgeries. Neighbors of Carhe and Lagway also expressed their discomfort. "No, this is sad, very sad," said Gloria Johnson, a Houston resident who brought balloons to the crime scene. Alfreda Cookie Franklin, a family friend, sat beside Lagway's mother and the 8-year-old boy during the funeral. She recalled how devastated their son was during the event. He said, "I just want my mom. I want to see my mom, and every time they tried to close the casket," Franklin recalled, "he would just break down and say he wants his mother." The Houston Police Department was also shocked at the passing of 3 family members of the same family, and their hearts broke for the innocent 6-year-old child who didn't even know what was coming for her. "This was a very, very tragic scene," said Assistant Chief Patricia Cantu with HPD. "We're sending out prayers to the family. This was not only a difficult scene for us, but for the family as well." The internet was also outraged when they heard about the incident and had many comments. One user paid their condolences to the deceased and praised Little Lyric. "It's unbelievable that people can be that jealous. This is such a sad story. Lyric really is a hero. IREP, family." Another user was angry at how the 1-year-old was handled during the crime. "He had no mercy when he threw the baby against the wall. I don't feel sorry for none of these killers." Another user wished Lyric the absolute best in her life. "Wow, girl, you really are a little hero, and I hope you have the best of everything life can give as you deserve all the good you can get." The neighbors of Carhe and Lagway came together to arrange the funeral. Franklin and a local motorcycle club, the Street Lords, are working on a fundraiser to help the family start a trust fund for the kids. According to their statements, it's not unusual for their neighborhood to take initiatives like this one for the locals in a crisis. "One thing I know about Houstonians, they have big hearts. When things like this happen, they all rise to the occasion," said Harry O. Tretton, president of the Street Lords Motorcycle Club. Tragically, many tried taking advantage of this situation and opened fake fundraisers to steal money from donors. "There's a lot of GoFundMe accounts that people are putting up out there. They are not real," Franklin said. They also took donations in the form of baby products if anyone was interested. Franklin adds, "Anyone who wants to volunteer or donate items like diapers for the baby is welcome. We need all hands on deck." Both Davis and Williams are waiting for their final sentencing as of 2024. Many are hoping that they would be given the death penalty or at least life imprisonment because of their absolute disregard for the value of human life. The 2 kids of Carhe and Lagway are growing up with their relatives. They will always feel the absence of their parents. No matter how many years Williams and Davis spend behind bars, the damage they cause this family will remain irreparable.
This is a sad story, especially the way it began with the courageous young lady having to watch what happened to her family and then being smart enough to play dead even though being hurt, to be able to help her sibling and call for help. It going to court and then the family finding out who did it and how they constructed it. Yeah, very sad. Very, very sad. And thank God she still had family, you know, her grandmother that could have took her in so she wouldn't have had to go into the foster system. Because that would have been crazy. And I do agree with the family. That bomb was crazy. He just killed 2 grown people. A kid shot another kid and assaulted a baby. Because even though it's still wrong, if he really needed the money, all he had to do was rob them. Man had to kill him. And the mom's ex-girlfriend / girlfriend, yeah, she deserved everything she get, man. That was gruesome, very heartless. So I agree with the family on that bond. That was crazy. You know what I'm saying? But what I take from this is everybody don't deserve your energy. If you don't want to be with a person, just go. Just go. You know, the lingering and stuff, you know, it causes stuff like this. I get it. You know, sometimes it don't get that crazy, but it can, as you can see. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, yeah, man, you just gotta watch out, man, because you don't know people's intentions. So you just gotta hope and pray that, you know, people got great intentions. Unfortunately, this young courageous girl gotta deal with the consequences of her mother's actions. You know? Either way, rest in peace to her mother, her father, her sibling. And I pray that, you know, God cover her, because, you know, she's still young, and that's a lot to deal with, and a lot to do when she get older too, you know? So let me know your thoughts on how you feel about this gruesome tragedy. I appreciate you, as always. Sweat, 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 sweat. Until next time.
My cash cow, uniform, my ass child. Gotta appreciate a woman that can help her man branch out.